The world teaches us one thing: success is about hard work, sacrifice, and discipline. That's the narrative you're told in school, in motivational speeches, in every rags to riches story that floods your social media feed. Work harder, save money, and eventually you'll climb your way to the top. But here's the uncomfortable truth: the rich never follow those rules. The game they're playing looks nothing like the one you've been forced into. They've rewritten the playbook, and while you're sweating on the field, they're sitting comfortably in the owner's box, collecting all the rewards. And once you see the difference, you'll never look at wealth the same way again. Section 1. The rules they tell you versus the rules they actually follow. The first illusion is simple. They tell you to play fair. Go to school, get a good degree, find a stable job, save diligently, and maybe retire comfortably. That's the script drilled into the middle class, the comforting story repeated for generations to keep the machine running smoothly. But the ultra-rich? They don't save. They multiply. Money doesn't sit in a bank account. It moves like a weapon. Through investments, tax loopholes, offshore accounts, and assets that grow while they sleep, compounding at a pace ordinary workers can't even imagine. While you're told to avoid debt, they embrace it. But not the kind of debt that buries families. They use good debt, leverage to buy businesses, property, and influence. Your paycheck comes after tax. Their wealth often grows before it's ever taxed, amplified by advantages written quietly into laws most people will never read. In short, the rich don't break the rules. They write them, and then hand you a completely different rulebook, making sure you'll always play a losing game. Section 2. The system was built for them. Consider this: laws, policies, and tax codes weren't designed with the average worker in mind. They were crafted by politicians influenced, funded, and often lobbied by the wealthy, shaped in backroom deals far from public view. The tax breaks that reward capital gains over income? That wasn't an accident. The loopholes that allow billionaires to pay less tax than their secretaries? That wasn't oversight. It's deliberate architecture, a system of invisible scaffolding holding up fortunes built on power. And yet, the illusion continues. The middle class is told to cut back on coffee and budget better, while billionaires shuffle billions across borders with the help of entire teams of lawyers and accountants, insulated from the pressures ordinary families face. It's not about hard work. It's about access to a system that was built to keep them safe, while everyone else is exposed to the risks. A game where the dice are loaded before you ever roll them. Section 3. Wealth as power, power as immunity. Another reason the rich never play by the same rules is simple. When you own enough, rules bend for you, and laws begin to look more like suggestions than obligations. If a worker breaks the law, they face consequences. If a billionaire bends it, they settle quietly, hire a better lawyer, or change the regulation altogether with a few well-placed donations. Money buys immunity, protection, and silence. Think of corporate scandals, oil spills, environmental destruction, market manipulation. When the average person commits fraud, they go to prison. When giant corporations do it, they pay a fine, often smaller than the profit they made breaking the law, treating punishment as just another business expense. For the ultra-rich, rules are just obstacles. For everyone else, they're cages, and the bars are reinforced by wealth, power, and a system designed to keep you locked inside. Section 4. The illusion of fair competition. You're told the economy is a level playing field, that if you work hard enough, you can rise to the top. But in reality, the wealthy don't compete like everyone else, because the starting line is never the same. They buy access. They buy opportunities. They buy influence. And in doing so, they eliminate the very competition you're told defines capitalism. A billionaire doesn't wait in line for college admissions. They make a donation, and their child's acceptance is secured before the first application is even reviewed. They don't compete for contracts. They fund the politicians who write the contracts, ensuring the outcome before the bidding ever begins. The middle class fights to survive in a market. The rich design the market itself, tilting it in their favor long before anyone else is even invited to play. This isn't competition. It's ownership, a monopoly on the very rules of the game, disguised as meritocracy. Section 5. Generational Wealth. The Silent Cheat Code. One of the biggest lies sold to the masses is the myth of the self-made billionaire. It sells well because it's inspiring. It keeps the dream alive and convinces millions that hard work alone can get them there. But look closer. Most billionaires start with massive advantages: elite education, family wealth, and connections that open doors most people will never even see. Even when they fail, they have a safety net: capital injections from family or investors willing to take the risk. For the middle class, failure is final. For the rich, it's just practice, a stepping stone on the way to even greater opportunities. Generational wealth isn't just money. It's access, knowledge, networks, and influence. It's an invisible head start that compounds over decades and quietly locks others out of the game. Section 6. Luxury as the distraction. Why do the rich flaunt their wealth? Superyachts, private islands, $200,000 watches. Because luxury is a distraction. It creates the illusion that wealth is about status symbols, when in reality it's about control, leverage, and long-term dominance. The world obsesses over Elon Musk's private jet. Few pay attention to how Tesla receives billions in subsidies, or how SpaceX leverages government contracts to cement its position. The yacht is the show. The system is the secret. Luxury keeps the public fixated on the glitter instead of the gears. And as long as you're hypnotized by the spectacle, you'll never notice who's pulling the strings. Section 7. The cost paid by everyone else. Here's the dark twist. While the rich rewrite the rules, the cost is always passed down to everyone else. When banks collapse from reckless lending, the middle class bails them out with taxpayer money. When corporations dodge taxes, public infrastructure crumbles. When billionaires monopolize industries, small businesses vanish, and workers lose bargaining power. The ultra-rich protect themselves with shields of lawyers and loopholes, but the fallout always lands on the average person, in layoffs, rising prices, debt, and shrinking opportunities. It's not just that the rich don't play by the same rules. It's that their version of the game ensures everyone else eventually loses. Section 8. The Illusion of Freedom. Perhaps the cruelest lie is that wealth equals freedom. At a certain level, financial security does give freedom of choice. But at the billionaire level, money doesn't just buy freedom, it buys influence, and with it, a responsibility that feels more like a golden cage. Billionaires aren't just individuals, they're institutions. They become political players, cultural symbols, and even enemies of the public. Some can't move freely without private security. Others live behind walls of isolation, despised by millions they'll never meet. The irony? The freedom you're chasing is often the very thing they've already lost, replaced with constant surveillance, pressure, and scrutiny. Section 9. Why the rules will never be the same. So why don't the rich play by the same rules? Because they don't have to. They've built safety nets the rest of the world will never access. They've written laws that favor their assets and protect their risks. They've created systems where failure has no consequence and risk has no sting, while ordinary people are punished for the smallest misstep. And once you see this clearly, you realize the advice given to the masses isn't designed to help you win. It's designed to keep you chasing, consuming, and believing in a system that was never built for you in the first place. Conclusion: breaking free from the illusion. The truth is uncomfortable but necessary. The game isn't fair, and it never was. The rules you were taught were never theirs. So how do you break free? Not by trying to copy the rich, but by refusing to play their illusion. See wealth for what it is, a tool, not an identity. Build ownership over your time, your skills, and your choices. Invest in freedom from debt, not validation through luxury. Because the real victory isn't beating the rich at their game. It's realizing you don't have to play by their rules at all. If this opened your eyes to the truth, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful insights that reveal the realities most people never see.